Hello, hello, and welcome to A Slight Chance of Adventure, a Pathfinder First Edition campaign diary podcast. My name is Tyler. I
Uh,
was the DM of this campaign, and here with me,
Hello, I'm Gavin, player of the campaign.
he- one of three and soon to be four players, but we'll get into that. Just to let everyone know, this episode is also pre-recorded like the last one, although next episode will be recorded probably once we've actually created the channel, hopefully. um, Last episode, a couple things happened. We introduced all the characters. There was a festival. Some monsters attacked. There was an escape. There were some pirates. Took the escapees hostage.
There was
They went over.
some accidental slavers.
There was yeah, something like that. And then there were some actual slavers that came by. There was a bit of a fight, and the Ivory Fang pirates, who had previously taken all these festival goers hostage, led by Druin, the catfolk, he decided to help the people he had just taken hostage because he didn't see what else he could really do. So that's where we're going to pick up. So in Avasara, well, first off, we should probably tell everybody who Shanla is. Um,
Right.
because we did not we don't know where did Shanla come from?
Oh, Shanla came from one of the three cities, all the
In
way back in, like, the main continent of
Historia.
Astoria. I'm
Historia.
so bad with names. Let's give you a common theme.
But yeah, so she had come to the archipelago essentially as a runaway
Yeah,
from
she
her
was
parents.
like one of those brooding teens. Is like, I don't want to listen to my dad, which is essentially
Mhm.
the entire thing of, yeah, she went off for her own adventure and to do her own thing, essentially,
Mhm.
to be a free bird.
Yeah, and then she arrived in Wakatupi, and pretty quickly after, when it came to the festival, and then shit went down. And so this session opened on you guys entering into Little Avasara, the um, hideaway of the Ivory Fang pirates, and as you discovered, where a lot of just non-pirate animal folk lived. Um, do you remember your first impressions of this place? Or how it seemed?
Um, I remember all of us like executively bullying you for having a furry island. I remember
Yeah,
that.
I think I forgot to mention that to let everyone. So like before this, I had a character in his game who was a fox person, right?
Yes.
Kitsune. And then this is as my first campaign, I immediately introduce a bunch of animal folk. So my players thought they were seeing a theme, and so every single time I introduce like a new animal folk, just assume that they're calling me a furry. That because that was just a common theme throughout the entire
It really
campaign is them
was.
calling me a furry.
It was a cool secret island for sure,
Yeah,
and it definitely had things that were wanting to be explored.
yeah, and this is on Maleku, which is the same island as Elika was from, but Elika was on the other side of the island, and neither the Druids didn't know about the Avasarans it being hidden away, and so there was kind of like a bit of being like, oh my goodness, there's a whole other village over here. That what a surprise, you know. So there was a bit of talk about that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, you guys entered into the village, kind of looked around, saw all the animal folk. There was like a bit of tension of all the villagers or the festival goers who are all human
Hmm.
arriving and kind of just hanging out around the dock, setting up like makeshift tents and stuff.
And
Um,
also, there was people looking at our hobgoblin friend.
oh yeah, well, we mentioned like throughout, nobody fucking trusted Orcus. No one trusted Orcus.
Hmm.
Everybody was just looking at like, who the fuck is this hobgoblin? You know? I
Who
think he
brought the
told them, no, I'm not
slaver?
a. Yeah, but I think he'd said like, no, I'm not a slaver. I'd say, okay, guys, and and everybody was like, okay, yeah, sure, sure.
Sure.
Um, and in particular, like all of the Avasarans were just death glaring him the entire time, um, because they did not like hobgoblins.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys look around a little village. There's animal folk, humans, kind of mixing, mingling. And then after a little bit, you guys meet with. Well, you see that there's a conversation going on between Tuzma, the head sightseeker, the followers of Hestra. She's the very old elf lady.
Right.
And Druin, the leader of the Ivory Fang Pirates, and a turtle folk person who seems to be the leader of the more civilian Avasarans. So like the village chief, essentially.
We did not talk to him much.
No, this is like the only time he comes up. But yeah, he was around, and this is clearly conversations happening between the two. They seem to be working out like, okay, what now? And you guys pop over and are like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, we've got a quest for you.
Yeah.
Essentially, they wanted people to figure out a bit more about like exactly what's going on, because the monsters that had attacked during the festival were creatures clearly infected by the Blight, which is a location on the island of Meleku, which is just corrupted. And any creature that goes into there and gets corrupted turns into a void beast. And normally, those creatures cannot leave Meleku, or even the Blight.
Yeah.
So they're confused. So they wanted somebody to go check out like just parts of at least the edges of the Blight and see if anything could be found that could suggest like what was going on with these creatures. And so your group was chosen for that.
Our first quest.
Yes, your first quest. But before that, Druin commented that he didn't think he could trust you guys to go on your own, so he figured he should bring someone from Avasara to join you, which is where we introduced our fourth player. Fierus, the catfolk blood rager, which is like a barbarian, but with a little bit of magic sprinkled in.
His bloodline was elemental, I believe. He's part fire elemental.
Yeah. So he's got like fire themes to him. He wielded a giant hammer.
Yes. I remember the player, he wasn't exactly used to like role playing yet, so.
Oh no. I have written right here.
His description
Fierus
of the
was
character?
added to the party. No. Okay, no. I'll describe. Fierus was added to the party, and the first thing he said was, "I'm Fierus. Now fuck off." That was the player's first words.
That's rough.
Yeah, and I remember everybody there was kind of just an awkward pause, and they were like, "Okay, welcome to the party." I also have commented here. He softened up a bit later. He pretty quickly realized that's probably not the best approach to playing your first character, so he kind of just softened it up and.
I believe like his character description is like, "I'm a cat man with a brown shirt," and that's what I remember of his description.
Yeah. He was a lynx catfolk, like a snow cat.
Right.
Which why a snow cat is from a tropical island and has fire powers? Don't worry about it. It's just
he was slaved over because he's
yeah.
I think that's part of his backstory. He was enslaved at some point.
Yeah. He was an escaped slave. Yeah. He'd been saved by the Ivory Fang, and he'd been living in Little Avasara as like a hunter. But he was which is why he was recruited. He was a bit of a loner because of his weird fire powers. So he was recruited and put with the party because he kind of knew the jungle, and would be able to help the players out. So yeah, when you guys were in the village, it was getting dark at one point, and so you guys had to rest. And you all found various different places to rest. Fierus had a little hut on the edge of the village, so he just chilled there. Elika met a fellow druid, a chipmunk folk by the name of Chespa, who is very excited all the time, and like talks like this all the time.
Yeah.
And they became friends. Elika climbed up with some trouble into her tree and hung out in her little chipmunk den. Orcus slept on the docks as far away from the animal folk as possible because he didn't want to die. Um,
Yes.
and this is where that thing with the old woman actually happened
Yes, I
that
made
you
a
mentioned last
dear
episode.
mistake,
Yeah,
which I will be obviously committing ritual seppuku for later.
of course, of course, of course. But yeah, Shanla tricked some poor old woman into letting her into her tent.
No, manipulated. I didn't lie. I still needed a place to sleep. I was essentially
True, true,
homeless.
true. Yeah, you just may have played up your struggles a little.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anyway, you guys all rested and then continued. So you guys went off on your first quest, adventuring through the jungle.
Hmm.
Um, you traveled through there for a bit. There was a bit of commentary about like, oh, this jungle is a bit different from the jungle that Alec is used to, on the other side of the island. And then you guys encountered the Blight. Do you remember your impressions of this?
I think it is definitely like very cautious steps in. I don't I think
Oh
we
yeah,
like were like throwing stuff in before we went in.
yeah, yeah. Because the Blight is like is it. There's a pretty hard contrast between normal jungle and there's just this like gray, blackened, dying, just
Hmm.
like corrupted section of jungle. Because it looks like the life has just been corrupted. Just all dark and gray.
Yeah, we didn't
Um,
really know the effects of like walking into it if it would have been bad or not, but
yeah, so they kind of just like cautiously like, they put a tiptoe in and throw something in and are like, no, okay, okay, okay. Um,
I think I cast like create water in there to see if
oh,
something
I
happened to the
forgot to
water.
mention too. You guys also discovered that you had create water a little bit before your journey and cast it on each other a fuck ton of times. Um,
Chaos is our game.
yeah, yeah. But after getting yourselves thoroughly wet, you continued. Um, and so you entered into the blight. Discovered that like touching the leaves and stuff would like possibly like poison you a little. Like
Hmm.
I think someone touched it and it gave like this cold sensation. But you kind of just brush it off and we're fine. So you guys were cautious of that.
Yeah,
And then
we just put it under our
we
boots.
yeah, and then we had the first combat of the session when a bunch of baboons attacked. Um,
Ah, yes, the monkeys. Well, one thing that was interesting about the void beasts is that they weren't all like the same. I remember distinctly that
yeah,
some had different like types. I remember there was fire ones, and
yep. There was fire. I think there was a pure void, which is like just a darkness,
mhm,
and was it? I think it was cold. Uh, I think.
yes, but they
Yeah,
all also exploded when they died, which
yeah.
caused quite a
We
bit of
forgot to mention that
problems.
last time. Every single void beast, when it dies, it explodes.
Hmm.
How big the explosion is, it depends on how dangerous the creature was. Um, and in particular, these creatures, the baboons, um, had a tendency to utilize that ability to cause harm.
Yes,
Because what they like to do was they ran at people, grabbed onto one of you, and then blew themselves up to do a bit more damage than previous, and then they would normally do when they
which
exploded.
might say is a really
Um,
fun idea for an effect.
yeah, yeah, I was very proud of these things. Um, I think Elika got one of the monkeys exploded on her.
Hmm.
Um, and
I think
yeah,
we
there
managed
was
to
some.
survive.
Oh yeah, I don't
And
think anyone went unconscious.
no, I
But
don't
yeah, there
think
was some.
it went.
Yeah,
I don't think that combat went badly.
no, somebody does go unconscious during this session. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, you'll get to that though. Um, so you guys, after fighting off the monkeys, you continued along the coast of the Blight.
Hmm.
Um, and you found a den, which after some from identification from Elika, you realized it was a wolverine's den, which is weird. But
It was also very big for a Wolverine, right?
yes, and so you guys investigated that a little, and then you've also found some remnants of like what seemed to have been a ship had come close to the coast, and like there was like remnants of a bunch of footsteps onto in that direction. Um, so clearly, like something had happened here, and there was a weird Wolverine creature.
Hmm.
Um,
I think we deduced that, like, I think we deduced that something was definitely controlling it to like be able to get on, and then we talked about, oh yeah, there's a voice, and it's like, okay, so we need to at some point find whoever's controlling it.
And you also found one other thing in this den. Do you remember what that was?
I found it with detect magic, right? It was a magic item, I think.
It was magical, yeah.
Oh right,
Do you remember what we called them?
they're like little orbs of darkness, right, or something.
Yeah, we called them beads of destruction.
Mm.
Um, and what they were was like little beads, like just glass. They felt like glass balls, you know. They were kind of small, but like inside them, they were just like pure darkness. Um, and exactly, I gave you the name bead of destruction at this time, but you guys weren't exactly clear what they did, you know. You just grabbed it, and also I made sure to mention that it was uncomfortable to even hold on to it. I felt like it would just burrow through your hand. So you guys wrapped it in some cloth and stuck it in your backpack.
Yeah.
So yeah, after the den and the bead of destruction, you guys decided to continue on to the other side of the jungle because Elika was wanting to get home, and you guys were essentially, it was the choice of going through the through the blight either way, and so you figured may as well go over to the druids first, because it'll be just as easy or difficult. So the trip out of the blight was actually pretty uneventful. I think Orcus may have brushed his arm against some brush and taken a bit of con damage, but that wasn't too much of an issue, honestly. What did happen is while you were traveling through the jungle and it was getting dark, a boar, I just like a random encounter with a boar happened, and this boar crit Fierus and knocked him unconscious in one hit.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, no. Tusks fucked that poor cat up.
Oh yeah, no, it was just kind of funny. It was like Fierce's first comment. It's like, all right, yeah, let's go. Well, not his first comment, but you know, but he was like pretty gung ho. He's like, yeah, let's go, and he just immediately drops. So, there was a bit of fun made of him.
It happens. It happens. That's why I love these games.
Yeah.
You could just be taken out by anything, just like real
and
life.
That boar wasn't even killed. It just ended up after taking a bit of damage running away.
Because it wasn't a blighted boar. It was just a normal boar.
Yeah, it was just a random fucking boar.
Honestly, if it was a blighted boar, Fierce might have died.
But anyway, apparently you guys rested at some point.
Yeah, we rested in the jungle, I think, before heading to the druids, right?
Oh, okay, actually, no. It looks like I mixed up my things a little. You guys made it to like the druids. You like pushed on through the night a little bit and met up with Elika's druids, which is a group of about 100 or so humans. Elika's the only half elf among them.
Which we thought was weird.
Yeah, everybody. There was comments about like, what the heck is going on here? You guys met. Well, Elika talked to her friend Mira, because she lived there for quite a while. She had friends there.
She was also friends with the druid leader, right?
Yeah, but we get that tomorrow when you guys wake up. But anyway, so she slept in her hut. You guys found a cave nearby,
Yes.
and just slept there. I think there was some comments about whether you guys trusted Orcus to sleep near you guys, particularly between Fierus and Orcus.
Yeah.
You know, one an escaped slave, one a former slaver.
I think Shanla was most of the campaign. Shanla was like that guy to defend Orcus, or that girl to defend Orcus. Like, hey, he did stuff. He's not a slaver now.
You definitely diffuse things a lot of the time.
I also bullied him for being a slaver.
Oh yeah, you diffuse things by bullying him.
Yes.
So yeah, you guys wake up, and then you talk to the leader of the druids, Gamal, and kind of like let him know, hey, something's going on. Something big's going on. We're kind of helping out. We're probably going to have to head back to Wanatuma. Is that all right? Because I think you guys had arranged to meet Tuzma back in Wanatuma.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, yeah. And so you guys left the Druids and went up. They're like on a river, so you just went up the river a bit and met, for some reason, one of your guys' favorite characters. Do you remember?
the one guy with the boat. I don't remember his name, but he's like this old fisherman that had like a singular small boat for us to go on.
Yeah, his name is Mr. Bismer.
Mr. Bismer. Hey.
And essentially, Mr. Bismer himself, working for the Druids to occasionally give them transport between islands. He wasn't a Druid. He's just a dude who was a loner with a boat. But for some reason, you guys absolutely loved him. You're like, Mr. Bismer, woo!
Yes. Who can not love a social outcast?
Yeah. So you guys met with Mr. Bismer, said hello, explained, hey, we need to go to Wanatuma, and he's like, all right, yeah, cool. And set off, and that's where the session ended for this time.
With us sailing into the sunset. Yes.
I'm going to mention this at the end of every time, because I keep notes on it. 3 days had passed at this point since the start of the campaign. So, again, like last episode, we don't have any community to take questions from yet, but this time we're going to make up a couple of our own to help maybe give some people an idea of what sort of questions you can ask. So first up, Gavin, what's your first question?
I think it was about where exactly Orcus came from. I remember he worked as his father, right? From a place called Tuval?
He mentioned that he worked for his father. Tuval, that was the name.
Yes.
So the island of Tuval is the slaver island with a population of mostly humans, but also a good chunk of hobgoblins live there. And so Orcus had been from Tuval, was born on Tuval, and had grown up as a slaver, and had only just recently escaped.
And I'm pretty sure he was on a ship, I don't know what it was called, and then the Stone Chain Pirates destroyed it or something?
No, because it wasn't the Stone Chain, it was the Ivory Fang.
Right,
because
that makes more sense.
Remember how you guys encountered the Ivory Fang at the Ed? That was, and they essentially ran into Orcus as he was chasing someone, and so it was just, they kind of just ran into each other. Orcus ran into a big group of the Ivory Fang. His single ship got wrecked, and he just fled. But that was essentially just him getting unlucky, running into like the main force of the Ivory Fang just by accident, before it ending up on Wanatuma.
But he met us.
Yeah, exactly. So next question, we'll do one of mine I've made up. People might ask about, hey, what's up with my world? What's going on? Well, I'll tell you. The world's name is Alaris. It's a purely homebrew world. Like everything is generally homebrew. At least the gods, the names of places. I mean, the races are like taken from Pathfinder and Monster, and I use a lot of monsters, but all the lore is purely original. And we can get into more of that as the campaign goes on.
Another backstory question of Fierus. Like, I remember he was like, his parents were killed and all that, and he got kidnapped and put into slavery for a bit.
Yes.
But
I think he'd grown up like there was he'd grown up. We never really talked about this in campaign, so I think it's fine. Just tell all of it. There's like a volcano. He lived near. His tribe lived near, and that's how he was born. And I guess he just got some fire powers because of that. And then his tribe was like defeated by another tribe, and then given to the people from Tuval, the slavers, who then took him up to Wakatupi, and then he escaped and spent like a year or two living with the Avasarans in Little Avasara. So yeah, that was his rough backstory.
That is rough.
Didn't talk about it too much, but because I think this is probably the first time you're hearing some of this stuff.
Yeah. But first, I heard about the volcano. I know he brought up the slaver thing because like he brought up in discussion when he was like talking about why he didn't like Orcus, but they got along eventually.
So another question we've mentioned before that your campaign, you've previously run a campaign, so we don't have to go into too much detail, but anything you think worth mentioning about that?
I actually ran 2 campaigns beforehand.
Yep.
One was like basically a one shot that we did. We didn't actually even get that far,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a tavern.
They like got attacked by goblins.
We got attacked by
Right?
goblins. You know how it'd be.
Yeah.
Then my second campaign.
I think it was like essentially a revision of the original one.
Yeah. Well, I definitely
Yeah.
changed the setting a lot. I
Right,
definitely
right.
like the setting of the second one more.
Right.
But after we ended that campaign, I declared it kind of non-canon, which kind of sucked because I like the setting.
Yeah, the second campaign was more. We were dealing with goblins again, and just kind of like defending a village from a goblin attack. Um,
There's a
and
drake.
that was
There's some
that
undead.
was where I played the fox person, the kitsune.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and that was neat.
Yeah, it was
So
fun.
then, anyway, that was the second episode of A Slight Chance of Adventure. Um, hopefully, we'll see everybody for the third episode, and goodbye.
Goodbye.